The magic apple tree is one of the most OP appliances in PlateUp. It grows a magic apple every 30 seconds. A magic apple can be served to any customer and it'll satisfy any item that a customer may order. This does not include condiments such as ketchup, mustard, soy sauce, or any of the coffee extras, such as the cake stand, extra sugar, or extra milk. I just finished a run where I survived until OT 195, and I want to show you just how I did it. In this run, I had all of the Halloween cards in play. Some are nicer than others, but the real challenge with the Witch Hut maps is handling multiple trick cards at the same time. Let me briefly show you all the trick cards I had in play. This will explain why my map went from looking like a normal restaurant to, well, this chaotic mess. Note that I did bring in a research desk at the beginning, so I could have both research upgrades and enchanted upgrades available. Careful Conveyance is a card that affects the speed at which grabbers and conveyors function. Honestly, while it does make things slower, unless you're waiting for a specific item being pulled from a grabber, it's not too bad. Generally, when you automate most of the foods in a restaurant, you'll have it being pulled into a prep, which means there should be a bit of a backlog building up while you're not serving whatever the item is. Here's a comparison of chips being automated with and without Careful Conveyance in play. Cowardly Customers is a card that reduces patience for customers at night. The bell icon indicates the patience bar where the customers are waiting for their order to be taken. The plate icon indicates the waiting for the food to be delivered, and the delivery icon with the dome lid indicates that the table is waiting for the rest of their items to be delivered. Note that Cowardly Customers only applies to the patience bars indicated by the bell icon and the delivery icon. Dark Deliberations is a card that causes customers to change orders at night. Night is indicated by the environment getting darker, and if you have a queue, the queue patience icon at the front door will be indicated by a moon. Night starts when the yellow part of the day bar reaches about this point in the bar. Foggy Food is a card where serving a person one food might satisfy a different item in that table's order. For example, if this person orders a steak and chips, there's a chance that the chips will satisfy the steak order and that I'll have to make another chips for them. When serving with metal tables, be prepared to make extra food. Sometimes, if you serve the main food, it'll satisfy the side instead. In this scenario, you'll have to serve an extra steak to complete the order. I recommend serving easy-to-prepare sides first, such as mashed potato or broccoli. You can make bigger batches of these sides, and there's a chance that it may satisfy both the side and the main. Sides that are readily available or automated are also great to serve first. Freak Fires is one of the scariest trick cards. Items in the restaurant will set on fire randomly. Dining tables and coffee tables will never set on fire if this is your only fire card. Rugs and floor protectors will never set on fire either. Fires may spread to tables and floor coverings, so be very careful when organizing appliances near tables. Fires only spread within a one-tile radius, so give your customers lots of room to breathe. Frightful Fluff is a card where your character is stuck wearing slippers all day. This means you can't wear any other footwear. You can't take them off either. Just like all the other footwear, slippers will spread messes and spread water that you walk over. Your character will be slightly faster when running in splash spots. Full of Friends is a card where the group size is determined by the size of your largest table. In this restaurant, even if I only have one table with 3 chairs on, all of the groups will come in threes. Be very careful to check all of your tables to make sure you don't have extra customers coming in. Note that the tables must have enough chairs to match the maximum group size on the top left. If your tables aren't big enough, you won't be able to start the day. Immortal Impatience is the meanest trick card. The queue patience will never reset between days. So even if you have one person outside for a moment, the queue patience drops and it'll never go up to full. It is so important to have coffee tables at this point, because losing the door patience with this card is plain old mean. Grand Gesture is a card where you're only allowed one table in the restaurant. You can combine tables to make a big table, but if you have any fire cards in play, I do not recommend this. Mysterious Messes is a card where random messes will spawn throughout your restaurant. Enchanting Brooms is a must because they will clean messes for you. Brooms don't catch on fire and are the safest way to keep your restaurant clean and fire-free. Nasty Nightmares is a card where food will burn faster at night. At the end of the day, you're more likely to burn things if you're not careful. I definitely recommend enchanting a hob into a cauldron because food will never burn in them. I mean, between soggy bread and burnt bread, what would you choose? Pyro Patrons is a card where every group will set their table on fire once they leave their table. Pay attention to when customers are on their last course because nobody will sit down at the table until the fire is put out. The only exception to this is when you have Charming Tier 3. If you have Charming Tier 3, the customers will sit down at the table before it is cleared, even if it's on fire. I don't recommend having Tier 3 of Charming in a witch hut, because if they sit down and you can't extinguish the fire in time, your customers will catch fire and you'll lose your restaurant. Risky Reservations is a card where the booking desk will call itself automatically. When you have this card in play, you won't be able to call the phone. None of the enchanted tools will work on the booking desk either. The only way to call the phone is by using a charged wand. There's a glitch in the game where you can recharge your wand immediately by putting it back on the wand stand. If you want to call a lot, you can continuously recharge the wand and call the customers in. Spooky Solos means customers will only sit by themselves. This card is a little tricky. One of your tables must have 2 chairs, even though the customers won't sit together. Tiring Times is a card where players will lose speed towards the end of the day. You'll notice your character has a normal movement speed at the beginning of the day, but your character becomes more sluggish towards night. Keep that in mind, as slower movement means you might try to grab or interact with something before your character arrives at that hitbox. Try to organize your restaurant in a way where you don't have to move too far, because the more you have to walk around, the longer it'll take to serve customers. Vanishing Valuables is a card where all of your money will disappear at the end of preparation day. Use it or lose it. I try not to take this card too early in my runs. Otherwise, I can't afford to buy upgraded or enchanted appliances, which will help me survive further into the run. So now that we know how all of the trick cards work by themselves, I can walk you through this restaurant. I'm showing you a time-lapse of the final days I played off-stream. My restaurant is constantly on fire. I'm only able to serve one group at a time because of Grand Gesture. I've got Herd Mentality and many of the Rush cards. I've got many customer reductions from all of the trick cards and all of the food cards. This is why my group count is so low. In a normal restaurant, I would have way more expected groups at this point. Why are there all those trees, Tootie? Why do you need all those grabbers? Well, I don't. At one point, I had all the tables automatically serving apples to customers through the grabbers, and I was chilling in the back taking orders on the ordering terminal. Then I got Grand Gesture and the Freak Fires card, and I had to throw out all of my extra tables. And, well, by throw out my tables, I kept them stored in the back in case I needed them. I also had to start serving manually, so my tables wouldn't set on fire. It was definitely a bit of a shock. I had a bunch of coffee tables to make sure I never got a lineup outside, due to the impending doom of Grand Gesture. I figured I was going to die on coffee table patience, because some days when I had the big rushes, the coffee tables were screaming. I did eventually get individual dining, which had an interesting interaction with Spooky Solos. It seems as though individual dining overrode Spooky Solos. The group count didn't change, but the number of customers dropped. That was cool. At one point, I had to throw out the phone because the coffee table started getting really impatient. Who'd have thunk that having only one working dining table in the restaurant would upset all the customers? This meant that the days started taking up to 30 minutes to finish. I was in absolute hell. Mostly because by the end of the day, the whole restaurant was ablaze. I couldn't even see what I was serving most of the time. My single table was a stone table. The reason I chose a stone table is because consumables will stay on the stone table for the whole day. I needed cutlery because I eventually took leisurely eating, and these people had a 3-course meal. All you can eat and double helpings meant that the odds of customers double ordering one of their courses was very high. So most customers ate 4 different times. I used the leftover bags for the first course to help them eat that more quickly. I was trying to use it on their final course to send them out right away, but I found myself tripping over what to do with the bag if they suddenly wanted extra food, and found that using the leftover bag on the first course was the safest time for it. You can only use the bags once per group, so I used them as much as I was able. Unfortunately, I was getting impatient. I figured, hey, the customers wait so long for me to put the fires out, maybe I should get Charming 3 so they'll sit down faster. Sometimes my fire extinguisher was on fire. Could you believe that? Or I grabbed an apple by accident, so I wasn't able to extinguish the fire right away. It was a great idea. I was able to extinguish the fire before the customer sat down at the table. Well, at least for the customers who sat at the nearby tables. Suddenly, I lost, and I was so confused why. I looked over the footage a few times, and at first I thought one of the coffee tables was on fire, but that wasn't the case. The only thing that happened was the table was still on fire when I lost. At the time, the customer was still working their way to the table. The only conclusion I can come up with was that the customer was technically on fire while they were walking to the table. When a customer catches on fire, you don't have much time to extinguish them. Well, it looks like I lost because of my impatience. I'm fine with losing this run. It was a wild ride. My biggest regret is not doing a run with Affordable. Affordable Tier 1 is so powerful in these long runs, where the biggest slowdown is customer eating times. Affordable negates all the slowdowns you get from leisurely eating, and it makes the customers decide what they want twice as fast. The cutlery with the stone table really helped with leisurely, but the customers sure took their sweet time to decide what they wanted. In restaurants where you typically have 3, even 4 courses, waiting for the customers to decide what to eat and then to eat it is torture, especially when you only have one table. The other mistake I made in this run was not having an enchanted wand. Enchanted wands will extinguish fires immediately. I would have been able to hold it in my hand, and it would have been ready to charge after each customer finished eating. If I had a wand here, I would have been fine on those fires. I didn't plan ahead for the fires. The whole time I planned out this run, I was thinking, okay, cool. We're gonna automate apples and chill in the back. I eventually threw out the enchantment desk because I was memeing and collecting carrots and stuff. Stupid stuff. But I didn't think I would survive this long with all the trick cards. If I were ever to do this again, I would make sure I had the affordable decoration category. I would make sure I had a wand to help me extinguish the tables at the end. Other than that, I'm super happy with how this run went. I'm not sure if I'll ever attempt this again though. The last 15 days I did off-stream took more than 7 hours. I AFK'd and was able to do IRL stuff in between rushes, but oh boy, that was a bit tricky. It was a fun experiment to see how far into PlateUp I could survive. The cool thing is, the witch hut maps are now permanent in PlateUp, so if I wanted to do this again, I don't even have to wait until Halloween comes back next year. Maybe one day I'll reach overtime 200. But that's another apple for another day.